What's up, YouTube? It's Matthew here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we have Isaac. Now, Isaac messaged me on Instagram talking about his very first hotel deal, and he's going to talk about some other deals that he's working on. If you guys can see the hat, you know what I'm talking about, how he's working on some creative deals and other wholesale deals that he started. I know you all are going to relate to his story as a beginner, whether you got your first deal or you're still looking for your first deal. Comment down below different insights you got from his story. All right, so let's get started. So Isaac, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm blessed, man. How about yourself, bro?
Doing well, doing well. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it. So yeah, we could just get started. So the first question I like to ask is, just the general, how did you get started in real estate in general, or real estate investing? How did you first learn about it and different things like that?
Well, I guess it started back in high school. I could say. I always knew I wanted to get into real estate. I thought the route I was going to take was like probably get my real estate license, become an agent, and things like that. But it wasn't until like my sophomore year in college where I finally got to a point where I was binge watching YouTube videos, how to get into real estate, how do you make money, like different type of business ventures, and that's what I ran into Max Maxwell actually on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And this was probably like this was early 2019 when this
Okay.
happened. So I finally get into watching Max Maxwell. I started learning a thing about wholesaling real estate. And at first, I couldn't really grasp the idea of it because I thought it was like, okay, so I get a property on the contract and then I sell it. I was like, wait, don't I have to have the money to buy it? And
Right.
it finally got to me. Like it took me like 2-3 months of watching to like understand, like, okay, so I'm just flipping contracts. So I don't need money to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it took me like a full year of just binge watching and all that stuff like that. And then yeah, it took me a full year to like finally get my first deal. And that was in January 2020 when that happened. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a good summary. But yeah, I know a lot of people, even people I had on this channel, they get introduced by Max Maxwell,
yes,
right? Because
sir.
he was like the king of wholesaling, especially back in 2018, 2019, and a lot
Absolutely.
of 2020. So yeah, that's how I actually got introduced to wholesaling, watching Max Maxwell and other, the OGs
Right.
of wholesaling and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's interesting because 2019 was actually when I got my first deal also. But it was August of 2019 and it took me like 8 months. So, I'm kind of there with you, just taking,
That's better than me,
in
man. It took
everything.
me a full year.
Right, right. But yeah, like you said, it can be hard to understand and grasp initially because
Absolutely.
even like talking to family members about it, like after I grasped it, it actually took them a few months until they understood what I was doing too. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's interesting. Okay, so you got your first deal in 2020, and were you still in college during that time?
No, I actually dropped out
Okay.
during the process of trying to get my first deal. So
Okay.
I was actually waiting till it was at Olive Garden. So
Hmm.
so after I got after my first deal, I had two other partners I was working with, and I only got like about like $1,200. That's how much I made from the deal.
Hmm.
So mind you, like during that process, the reason I brought up Max Maxwell is because I actually met my mentor at the Max Maxwell event. So this was like probably like 4 or 5 months into my journey, and then he ended up being the person that kind of facilitated everything to help me get my first couple of deals, and then that it went up since then. So that's how it started.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a good story that I know a lot of my audience can relate to. Like you were a waiter, right? And you
Yeah,
and you decided, hey, college is not my thing. I'm gonna go full fledged with this wholesaling with real estate, and you went all the way in. Okay, so
absolutely.
with I guess finding this mentor, how did you, I guess, how did you, because I know a lot of people ask questions like, how do I find a mentor? How do I find someone to just help me throughout the whole process? How were you able to find this mentor? I know you said something about maybe at the event or something, but what are some things that you could tell people to find a mentor?
So I really advise people to show up to as many, real estate meetups as they can and try to have as many conversations as you can, man. There's a ton of people out there that they're ready to, even, like recruit you, find deals from them. They'll walk you through the whole process, like how to get it done, things like that. So that's probably the biggest advice I can say is like really network as many people as you can, show up to real estate events, build up the, your network of people. Cause what they say is, your network is your network. So that's the very first thing I would always advise people to do.
Okay. And that's how you found
Absolutely.
yours.
Absolutely. Yes, I met him at the Max Maxwell event actually.
Okay.
So, and the funny thing too, because I know we're about to get to the hotel deal, right? So
Yeah.
there's a reason why I wanted to bring up the mentor, because he was actually the one that lent me the money to do my first hotel deal.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
was my very first, person that I met like in the whole real estate journey. He ended up being the person that I brought along like throughout my whole journey, and he had his hands in a lot of stuff
Got you.
that I've been doing in real estate. So
Okay.
yeah, building a network is definitely very important.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And I know a lot of people can relate to what you just said. And, just finding someone who's been there, done that, and whatnot, that you can learn from. And, even though your first deal, split among, like you said, three people, right?
Right.
And you got 1,200, but it still was a proof of concept. It was just,
Absolutely.
like, hey, I can do this, right? And I can
Yeah, that
continue doing
1,200 for
this.
like $1 million at the time. Yeah, definitely
Exactly.
did. Yeah.
Exactly. So was that 1,200 split with the mentor also
Yeah. So
that
the
you
way
talking
it
about?
worked was I had two buddies that I met along the journey that we basically, we tagged along, we cold
Mhm.
called together, things like that. And basically it was that whole learning experience of trying to get into the business. So basically it was me, two other people, and then my mentor actually took half. We split the 50%. So
Got
basically I
you.
got like 16% of the deal. So
Yeah.
to me, it's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Just wanted to get
Yeah.
that concept down.
100%. Okay, that's interesting. And before we go to the hotel deal, I think breaking out the first wholesale deal is always great, and I know my audience really enjoys that. So you can kind of like, just share the story, like how did you find this lead, and how did the negotiation work? What was the motivation, for the seller?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I can say, my first year into the business, I was having, some troubles like getting, consistency in my current market in Dallas. As you know, like Dallas is like probably one of the harder markets in the area. So
Mhm.
I was kind of, struggling to kind of get my consistency in there. So I started venturing out to other markets. So I started exploring other markets throughout Texas. Like there's like areas like Paris, Texas, like Sherman, Greenville, those different areas and stuff. And I actually looked up and started marketing over there. And I found a deal out here in Paris, Texas. It's about an hour, like hour and a half east from Dallas. And the house, ended up. I saw the estimate was worth 50,000. Seller was asking 10 grand. And at that time, I did a few wholesale deals in Paris, but I was like my average deal size was like, like 6 to 7 grand over there. So I wasn't really making too much profit. So I remember at the time when I was like, oh shit, I just locked up a deal for 10,000. So first thing I did was call my mentor up. I was like, hey man, you know, do you know anybody, any lenders that can fund this for me? Because I think I just want to go ahead and immediately sell this on the market, and then he did his thing, his due diligence, started running comps, things like that. He came to me, hey man, I can lend you the 10 for it. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I ended up I had to wait like 45 days for the whole title
So
process to
this is the
clear out.
hotel deal?
It's a hotel deal, yes sir.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was asking before is
Oh, I'm
before we
sorry,
go
I
there,
skipped ahead,
no,
my
you're
bad.
good. I just wanted to like just quickly, break down the first wholesale deal.
Oh, the first
Like,
wholesale deal.
yeah, the wholesale deal. Like, how did you find the seller? What was their motivation? And how did negotiation work? How did title work go and everything like that.
Absolutely. So the first wholesale deal ended up being, so like I was saying, I had my mentor with me at that time. So the way we had our like partnership set up was, he would skip trace a list for me. And I would just like log it to the dollar and I would just cold call for him. So
Mm-hmm.
basically all the leads that, I would generate, basically, he would take us on an appointment over there. So basically I qualified the seller for him. I made sure everything was, ready to go, but until we actually, for the appointment, things like that. Right. So the situation with the seller was, she was looking to downsize. It was actually in Garland, Texas. That's actually where my hometown is. Like it's a city like it's a suburb city northeast of Dallas. So, you know, she was looking to downsize, and like she was having like a lot of foundation issues. I think she also had a son that recently passed away. So she had like a lot of, you know, like personal things going on. And we basically ended up, my mentor ended up locking it up for 80 grand. And I remember we were so excited when that happened. So he locked it up for 80 grand. And I remember him telling us, he said, "Hey, we're gonna try to sell this. We're gonna try to market this out for 130." So we're like, "Oh crap, this is, you know, a lot of upside potential, right?" You know, later on, it became a thing where like, you know, the highest bid we actually got was 85. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So it was a pastor
Yeah.
that was actually looking to, you know, buy it, right?
Hmm.
So uh for the audience who's in Dallas, if you know of New Western, New Western was actually a company that initially offered us 120 for it. They're like a wholesale company like in Texas. And basically, you know, if you get an offer from New Western, they're actually known for being the low ballers because they also wholesale as well.
Hmm.
So we had an offer for 120 after the inspection period. They came back and said, "Yeah, we can't move forward on this." And then the highest offer ended up being somebody for 85 grand. And then we ended up moving forward with this person. And then, you know, since I built this solid relationship with my mentor, he actually let us split that, you know,
Oh,
between
okay.
me and my two partners. So that's
Hmm.
how that situation happened out. So
Got you.
exactly.
Okay. So that was your first deal.
That was my
Yeah,
first one.
first wholesale deal. Okay, that's good. And yeah, I think it's just important to tell, people about, your first wholesale deal, your first real
Absolutely.
estate deal in general. Because yeah, I think with that particular situation, maybe the foundation was a huge issue,
Right.
right? And just working your way around that. And, because I know a lot of times beginners can have like high hopes, with their first deal, like
Absolutely.
we're gonna make 50 grand on this, and
Yeah.
then you end up making 5,000 with it. And so yeah, that's good to know. And so from there, how did you all, you know I guess, scale the business, and how did it go from there, after getting your first deal?
So absolutely. So you know, it did come with, you know, trials and tribulations. You know, this thing is not as easy as it can seem, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But during that process, so this was January of 2020 when
Hmm.
I got my first deal. So I got my second one literally. So the second one was, we had it under contract in February, then we closed in April. So after I could be honest with you. So after the second deal, I went on a drought since until October of that year. So it wasn't until October of 2020 until I got my third deal. And during that time, you know, like I mentioned, you know, I had two partners at the time, and they got to a point where you know, finances were kicking in, and they weren't,
mm,
you know, they got to a point where, like, hey man, I think I want to take a step back from this wholesale. And you know, in this industry, the turnover rate is crazy. You know what I mean? It's a lot of
mm-hmm.
people that come in and out. You know what I mean? So because there's struggles to it. You know what I mean? But I feel like, you know, once you like get past those struggles, you know what I mean, and then start getting some consistency, you know, that's where it's all worth it at the end. You know what I mean? But back to what I was saying, you know, what was it? It was in April of 2020 when we decided, like, when they decided, like, hey, we can't move forward on
Mm,
this. So they basically quit. And then I basically I had a roommate at the time who I was actually, because I know I'm moving too quick, but I don't know if you're like me. But when you first heard about this wholesaling, weren't you a person that was telling all your friends about this?
yeah, for
You was
sure,
recruiting
for
every
sure.
single person that you knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I basically ended up getting my roommate to come in and partner up with me. And so we were working from it was towards the end of April, and it was until October. And then I helped him get his first deal, and then they ended up being my third deal. And then that's how that happened. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, okay. Yeah, and I think it's important to be, real and transparent with everyone. Like, hey, my partners fell out because they needed to pay their bills, or
Absolutely.
like, I wasn't able to get deals for a few months or whatnot. And that's what I actually expressed that recently on a video I made last week, because yeah, there's some like months where it's like, okay, I don't have anything clicking, no really good leads. I didn't close a deal this month or last month,
Right.
what's happening. But I think that's part of the process, especially as a beginner. But you kept going while other people around you were quitting. And I think
Absolutely.
I think that's important, that you were like, hey, this for me is for the long term. Um, So, okay, so now let's get into the hotel deal now. Okay, so you closed that third deal in October, and I'm just going to ask some questions and you can just answer them accordingly. So, with the hotel deal, when did you get in contact first with this seller?
So I first got in contact with him. This was in early September
Okay,
2021. It
okay,
was
O-
early September 2021.
okay, early September 2021. And then what was their main motivation for selling that property?
So the thing with him was his property actually had a lien on it. So it had
Hmm,
a demolition lien on it, right? And this
hmm,
was a person that used to be a realtor actually. So his plan was to actually go ahead and list it on the market, right? But for some reason he had some things going on where like he had to update his licensing and things like that, so he couldn't do it. So I ended up calling him, at the right time. He was like, "Hey man, I was actually about to list this on the market, man, but since you're calling me, man, I mean, I'll take a cash offer for it. You know what I mean?" So when he said that, I previously had a property in that market locked up for 10 grand. So I was like, you know what, man, let me try to, shoot low and see where this goes. Right. So, I was like, hey man, would you take, $10,000 for it? He was like, I think I can do that. I'm like, oh, great, great. That's great. So what's your email address? You know what I mean? So I just went ahead, try to get that locked up. And then I'm skipping steps, but yeah, first contact was September. And
Okay.
then we ended up getting contracted at the end of October.
Okay. End of October.
So it took
Okay.
a few
Yeah,
follow-ups
that's
until then. Yeah,
okay. Okay. So end of October. So about 30 days of
absolutely.
okay,
No,
follow
so
up.
a little bit longer actually, because it was like October 27 when we locked it up, and it was like first week of September. So
Okay.
almost 2 months basically.
Got you. And so I guess in between September and October, or between first contacting him and signing the contract, were you just following up with him, or was it like right away he was interested and he accepted that 10 grand, or was there some back and forth or
Yes, so
anything like
there
that?
was a little back and forth because initially he wanted me to like he was interested in selling it, but he wanted me to not do an inspection on the property, right?
Hmm.
So he was really like because he knows that there's a demo lien against it, but luckily I knew that my title company, they're not going to close on any property without any proper title insurance, things like that. So I know for like if I locked it up regardless, they wouldn't have like let it close if there was like if they couldn't get that link cleared up. So basically, I had to follow up with him, kind of work with him until he finally let me he finally granted me a 10-day inspection. So that's how that we found that that's what kind of slowed down the whole
Okay.
process. But
Got you.
by the time I locked it up, I went ahead, I got a contractor, paid him $100. He did a quick, run through on the property. He told me he needed a lot of work. I had luckily I had my mentor who I can run to, like, hey man, hey, I think about first he's the one that lent me the money, but I was like, hey, is this even a good deal to even take a risk on?
Hmm.
He did his comps, what I mean, he did his thing, and he's like, you know what, bro, I can lend you the money for you. Let's you pull the trigger on it. So that's how that happened.
Got you. And with the, I guess the lien, was the property, was it required that the property had to be
Yeah,
um,
demolished.
destroyed, demolished, right?
Absolutely.
And so, did you sell the property as is? And
Exactly.
okay, okay, okay,
No,
with that
I didn't
lien,
do anything to it. Even there was like
right,
some
right.
some some cleaning that needed to be done. I didn't even clean it. You know what I mean?
Got you.
I bought it because the thing is that the comps we were actually seeing, there's actually properties in worse condition than this property was in.
Hmm.
So I liked my odds on it. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
that's why I decided to move forward on it.
Okay, okay, got you. Okay, so now we have the timeline and the motivation. Okay, so you signed the contract and you send over that contract over to your title company. How did the title work and everything go? Was there some back and forth? Was there issues with the lien and other things like that? Just explain that.
Yeah. There was a few issues. So basically, the first thing is the property was in Lamar County, right?
Mhm.
And the title company I use is in Collin County, right? So when it comes to out of county stuff, it takes longer, especially in Lamar County, because Lamar County is one of those counties in Texas. Like when it comes to like getting your title commitments and stuff like that, man, they take they take quite a bit some time. So I was basically it was more of a timing issue. I mean, it took 2 months for it to close. You know what I mean? So basically, shout out to Leanne Harden. That's my escrow agent. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I use the Fidelity Title Company. in
Mm-hmm.
McKinney, and basically she's the one that she I can't really explain how their whole process is, but they communicate with the county and to try to clear the lien and things like that, and she was able to get the lien cleared, and so for us to have a clear title to close.
Oh, okay. So she
So
got it done,
she got it done for me.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay. So that process took 10 months. I mean 2 months to close. For
Exactly.
you to buy it.
For me to buy it. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
exactly.
So you bought it towards the end of December. That's when it
Uh-huh.
closed. Okay. All right. And so you borrowed this money from your mentor, $10,000. You bought it. What were the terms for that lending? And how did that conversation go?
So basically, he drew up some paperwork for me, and he was basically like, "Hey, look, we're gonna put the terms at 60 days. So basically, I had 60 days to return the money to him, and basically, he was charging me 9% interest. So basically, by the
Hmm.
time I close, he's lending me 10 grand, and then by the time I close and make my profit, I pay him back $10,900.
Right. Okay, okay.
And I had 60 days to close.
Gotcha. 60 days to pay him back?
Yeah, 60 days to
Okay,
pay him back.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
60 days
Okay.
to pay him back.
Right,
And
right.
then
Okay.
it ended up taking 70 days to close. But I had that relationship, and that's why
Right.
I'm still growing in this business. But from what I'm understanding, like private money, I think is the best money to go after, because
Right.
if I was using hard money, they would have probably charged extra points just for being late, things like that. So I was able to just
Hmm.
have a conversation like, hey, look, man, we're almost at the closing table. The bar wanted to extend their inspection period, things like that. So, you know, I was able to just communicate with him, and he was able to work with me on that, and he didn't charge extra interest on that.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Got you. Makes sense. So that's key, right?
Absolutely.
Relationships, right? It's
Relationship.
not it's about the house or about the structure, things like that's why it's so important to network. Like you said, network is your net worth, and just
Absolutely.
have that flexibility with people, you know. Okay, so you closed the property at the end of December, and then now you listed it on the market, right?
Right.
Okay, and did you worked with a realtor or you listed it yourself? How did that work?
Yeah. So I actually had an agent friend.
Okay.
I actually I hooked up with him to list it for me.
Hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then from there, how long did it take for it to sell?
All right. So actually, yeah, in the dispo, this is a great question, because
Yeah.
at the dispo end, it had some complications as well too. So basically, the great thing is, at hotel, I closed it on a Monday, I listed it on a Tuesday, right? On
Hmm.
Thursday, we had an offer. So we're like, okay, awesome. So this guy he offered a 34 grand for it, right? So he wanted 34,000 for it, right? So we had it under contract with this person, and then 2 weeks later, literally a day before closing, they backed out. They
Wow.
said
Mm.
it cost, there's too many repairs. You know what I mean? They said they weren't up for the project, so we ended up not closing with them, right?
Hmm.
So we listed back in the market for another. I think it took like about 2 weeks after we put it back on the market. We finally had somebody who said, "Hey, we want to pay 45,000 for it." Later
Hmm.
on, they ended up renegotiating it down to 40. During the whole inspection period, but yeah, it took 2 weeks after that first buyer backed out for the second buyer to come in and say, "Hey, we're ready. We're ready. This is this
Hmm.
works out for us." So that's how that happened.
Okay. And when you listed the property, how much did you list it for?
So I initially listed for 55 actually,
Okay.
so
Okay.
55,000, right? So when we
Okay.
got that offer for 34 and they backed out, we dropped it down to 45,
Okay.
right? So
Got
we
you.
dropped it down to 45, and then that's when we had somebody come in and say, "Hey, we could pay 45," and then they renegotiated us down to
So
40.
40. And then that closing, how long did that take for the end buyer?
Absolutely. So all right, let me start from the beginning. 27 when I contracted with him, and then when I bought it, it was January 14th when I
Okay.
closed on it for when I acquired the property, right?
Right.
So from it was January like 15 or 16 when we put it back on the market. And then
Uh-huh.
when we put it back on the market, we closed on the 22nd, March 22nd, excuse me.
Okay, okay.
March,
So
I didn't
about
say
two
March,
months
yeah, March
later.
22nd. Yeah, and
Right,
it
right,
closed that
right.
same month. Yeah.
No, no, no. Okay, okay. That's good. That's good. And so just break down the numbers for all the viewers. How much were you able to, net from this
The net, yeah. So
profit?
I actually netted 25 grand on the property. Thank all glory to God for that. Yeah, but
Right.
they basically, like I was saying, they went down to 40 grand. You know, I paid my commissions to my agent. So it was about like 25 grand from him. And after, you know, all like, you know, taxes and
2200.
all the other stuff. Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
netted 25 for it.
Got you.
So so they cut me a check for like 36 grand and some change. I put deposit in the bank account and I just went ahead and sent you know, the 10,900 to my lender. And I had 25 grand left. 25,
Hey,
25 grand and 700 some dollars. Yeah, something like that.
dang,
Yeah.
congrats, Isaac. I mean,
Yes, sir.
that's
I
a
appreciate that,
huge,
man.
huge accomplishment. So, I mean, how did it feel? I mean, like when you got that amount of money, has this been like the biggest check you gotten?
Oh yeah, this
Yeah,
is my
yeah.
biggest wholesale deal. I mean,
Uh,
biggest real estate deal
real
because
estate
it's a
deal.
hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah,
is my
yeah.
biggest real estate deal. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
So
right.
like, yeah, I was super excited. Yeah, I was
Okay.
anticipating on the closing because man, it was a 4 month process. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I'm just waiting on this check to come in. You know what I mean? So I'm just, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Meanwhile, you know, of course, I'm making offers. I'm locking up deals and things like that. But you know, that whole process was just, you know, I was like, bro, I'm waiting on this thing to close. And then,
right.
yeah, when it finally came in, I was, you know, it was,
It was,
you know,
yeah.
it was a party, man.
Right, right, right.
Yes,
Got you.
sir.
Okay. And so with this 25 grand, what do you plan on doing with it? Because it's only been like 8 days since it actually
Yeah,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah, just tell the audience.
So first and foremost, you know, first you know you got to pay yourself, right?
Hmm.
But you know, investing into the business, I recently, you know, got hip to, you know, the profit first,
Yeah,
you know, the
the
way that
book.
worked. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
basically, what I did was like I put 55% in an operating account. The operating account is where I do all my, like business expenses, things
Hmm.
like that. I put 15% in taxes, and
Hmm.
I pay myself 25.
Hmm.
So I hope I did the math right. So I pay myself 25 and I have 5% left over. I put in a profit account.
Hmm.
So basically, you know, I keep 25 and I'm not, I haven't had any big plans with it yet. I'm
Right.
actually planning on taking it. I don't know if you heard of Clever Summit. There's like a real estate event coming up in
Oh,
Vegas.
yeah, clever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the clever
Yeah. So
investor. Okay, yeah.
that actually that's what I'm planning on doing with it. So
Okay,
I actually
okay.
bought my ticket the other day. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Man, hey, network, keep on networking,
Hey, keep
man. You're
networking. You
doing
got
good
to,
things.
right?
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so tell the audience, because obviously a lot of people probably noticed the hat, the Sub2 Pace More V.
Oh yeah,
Uh
oh definitely. Yeah, I didn't even mention this one. Yeah, so
yeah, talk about that.
yeah, man. So I actually I joined Sub2. It was September actually, that same month actually, where I started talking to the lead. I didn't have it locked up at the time, but I joined that month, and it's still a journey. I'm still working on trying to get my first creative finance deal. There's actually one I'm actually like negotiating with right now that I believe I'm gonna get it either locked up today or tomorrow. It's a
Hmm.
house in Paris actually, and basically the terms that we have set up on it, or where I negotiate with him was the purchase price is at 45 grand. He
Hmm.
wants 5% down, so that's going to be 2250. I'm gonna have to come up cash to give it to him, and
Hmm.
then we actually got him down to 0% interest, so he's not even looking for interest. So yeah, so
Wow.
0% interest, 45 grand, and then that's gonna lead the monthly payments to around like 144 a month. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I can rent it out for 600. So
Wow.
that's gonna be my plan. So basically, getting that
Yeah.
locked up and then renting it out, bro, and then
You
that tenant's
go
gonna pay that note down for him. You know what I mean? So
right,
I'm excited for
exactly.
this. The next part of the journey, man. Just starting acquiring properties and things like that.
Yeah,
It
man.
hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean? But I'm
Right.
almost there. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
hey, you sounds like you probably lock it up probably today or tomorrow in the next a day or two. But and so you say you're putting down 2250, like
Yeah,
$2,250
no,
down.
no,
Okay.
yeah, 2000, yeah, 2250, exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, dang, that sounds
Absolutely.
exciting, man. Blessings
I
with that for
appreciate that,
sure.
man.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, just to wrap it up, I guess for the audience, what are some, I guess, suggestions or just a word of advice? Let's say they're a beginner wholesaler in the real estate game. What are some tips that you can give them in order to get their first deal?
Absolutely. What I would say is this, man. Get good at finding leads, get good at networking, and then as you're networking, God willing, you find somebody who can actually close those leads for you. Honestly, I think that's like the cheat code, man. If you can learn
Hmm.
how to generate leads and you bring it to a closer,
Hmm.
take 15%, take 20%. You know what I mean? Like don't
Hmm.
get greedy in the beginning. Just
Hmm.
learn how to do it. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
would say that, you know what I mean, definitely, keep networking. and then get good at finding leads.
Gotcha.
That's the leverage you have whenever you network with people. Like, hey, look, I got leads. I don't know how to close them. You know how to close them. This is free marketing for you. You know what I mean? So bring the leads over to them. So I definitely suggest that.
Hey, that's
And if
some
you're in
real
Dallas, I
advice.
want
Yeah.
to say this, if you don't mind. If you're in
Yeah, go
Dallas,
ahead.
please hit me up, man. I'm willing to close your leads as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll put your Instagram handle down below or any emails
Absolutely.
that you want. Um, for sure. And yeah, I mean that's some great advice. You know, it's mindset and it's practical, right? Because
Absolutely.
get leads, you all, and then also network, and provide more value than just thinking about what you want to get, right?
Right.
And I think that's key because actually your mentor Pace Morby, that's how he had a relationship with his guy Cody, I think Cody Barton or
Yeah,
whatnot.
Corey Barton, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he was
Matthew Beard, yep.
struggling with his wholesale business, and then he heard Pace off of like a Steve Trains podcast. He brought
Right.
him a bunch of leads, and now he's worth millions of dollars because of that.
Exactly.
You
You
know,
know what I mean?
because Pace is the closer, right? But Cody
Absolutely.
knew how to generate leads for him. So
Exactly.
so that's the way to do it for sure, you all. And just think, okay, what can I do for this person? Add
How
value,
do I
add
add value?
right.
That's the question you gotta ask. Yep.
And the way the world works is by just doing that, you would naturally receive. So
Absolutely.
you don't have to worry about getting something because something will uh be coming to you for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Absolutely. You're
Okay.
right about that, man.
All right. So thank you, Isaac, so much. I know the audience definitely liked your story and related to it. But yeah, you all comment down below if you have any questions for Isaac. I'll leave his Instagram handle, his email, and you guys can send him any deals. If you have any questions, he'll answer them. And then, yeah, let me know, you all. All right, you all. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be sure to like,
Yeah.
comment, subscribe. Talk to you all later.
Appreciate you,
Peace.
man. Thank you.